Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now, on Saturday, there's a game in the American Conference between two top 25 teams that are battling for the conference lead, and the UCF Knights traveling on the road at the Tulane Green Wave. Who do I think is going to win this game? Let's break it down. Now, UCF is 7-2 and 4-1 in the American Conference to start this season, and Gus Malzahn's done a fantastic job at head coach since coming over from where he was fired at Auburn, and he's done a really good job to keep UCF as one of the top American Conference programs. And they're having a great season this year. And they started out in week 1 beating South Carolina State 56-10. That was a good win. And then they lost to Louisville in a heartbreaker 20-14. This was a game they could have won. They just could not get enough offense going. And then they won at Florida Atlantic 40-14. That was a good one on the road. Then they beat Georgia Tech 27-10. That was a great win to get a win over an ACC team. Then they beat SMU 41-19. SMU's a decent American Conference program. That was a good win. Then they blew out Temple 70-13, and that was a good win. Then they lost at ECU 34-13, and ECU was much better this year, so that's not a terrible loss, even though they did not really compete in that game. But then they bounced back and beat Cincinnati 25-21. That was a good win because Cincinnati's still a really good team. And then they won at Memphis 35-28. Memphis is kind of struggling a little bit this season, but that was still a good win on the road. And quarterback Mikey Keene at 219 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. He's a really good quarterback, and he's filling in nicely for John Rice Plumlee, who's been out for the last week with an injury. And Mikey Keene's done a really good job as the backup. Whoever is the quarterback for UCF in this game, both are really talented. If John Rice Plumlee's able to return, he does provide more on the ground. But Mikey Keene is probably the more polished passer, but they're both good at throwing the ball. So either way you go, UCF is going to be fine at the quarterback position. Running back R.J. Harvey at 151 yards and a touchdown. He's a very solid running back. And also UCF is running back Isaiah Bowser, the transfer from Northwestern, has 67 yards and a passing touchdown in the Memphis game. And obviously, Gus Malzahn does like to mix it up, so that's good there. Both running backs for UCF are really talented. Wide receiver Ryan O'Keefe at 75 yards, and he leads a talented receiving corps for UCF. And on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Jason Johnson at 5 tackles, linebacker Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste at 4 tackles for UCF against Memphis. And UCF has a really solid offense and a very solid defense. Both sides of the ball are very talented, and UCF does have a really good team. Now, on the Tulane side, they're 8-1 and 5-0 in the American Conference to start the season. They're leading the conference, and Willie Fritz has done a really good job at head coach over the years at Tulane, to have Tulane as one of the better American Conference programs. But for the last couple years, they have been struggling, and some were questioning whether he was still the right guy for the job. But this year, they have bounced back from a terrible season last year, and Tulane is playing fantastic football. And in week 1, they beat UMass 42-10, and that was a good win. Then they beat Alcorn State 52-0, and their best win of the season, they beat Kansas State on the road 17-10. This was a fantastic win for Tulane to beat a top 25 Big 12 program. But then they lost to Southern Miss for their only loss of the season, 27-24. This was a tough loss because Southern Miss is a decent Sun Belt program, but still they're having a great season regardless, but that was a tough loss. Then they won at Houston overtime 27-24, and that was a good win because Houston is a decent American Conference program. It's always good to find a way to win in overtime. Then they beat ECU 24-9, and obviously ECU's having a really good season, so that was a good win. Then they beat South Florida 45-31. Then they beat Memphis 38-28, so good wins there. And then they won at Tulsa 27-13. And in that Tulsa game, quarterback Michael Pratt at 125 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, 36 rushing yards. He's a really solid quarterback. He's a dual threat, and he is the heart and soul of the Tulane team. He does a lot of things for the Tulane offense, and he's a really good player. Running back Tajay Spears at 157 yards and a touchdown. He's been a running back that's been improving for Tulane, and he's only getting better and better. And running back Ashad Clayton Johnson at 106 yards, so a very good dual-headed monster at running back for Tulane. Both of the running backs are really solid. And tight end Tyreek James at 39 yards and a touchdown for Tulane. And Tulane's offense has been really solid this season, and they've only been getting better and better as the season's been going on, and they're a much better team on offense this year than they were last year. Linebacker Dorian Williams at 5 tackles, and defensive back Jarius Monroe had 5 tackles for Tulane against Tulsa. And Tulane's defense has been much better this year than it was last year, and they're giving up a lot of points. So Tulane has a really good offense and a really good defense as well. So who do I think is going to win this game? This game is at Tulane. That helps Tulane a lot because when you have two teams that are really solid, then the home field advantage really helps. And Tulane is a much better team than they were last year. Their offense has really improved. Their defense has really improved. Willie Fritz has really got his team playing well. But the one thing that is kind of alarming is the fact that outside the Kansas State win, and the ECU win was good as well. But a lot of their wins have been against teams that aren't as good in the American Conference, and they have kind of struggled a little bit in some of those games. Where on the UCF side, UCF has played a lot of great teams, and they've beaten a lot of great teams handily. Gus Malzahn has a lot of talent on that UCF team. Their offense and their defense is probably more talented than Tulane's offense and defense. They have a lot of great players on UCF's team, and Gus Malzahn, like I said, is a great coach, and he's really got them playing great football, and they've played really good football against some really good teams this season. But I'm going to go with Tulane to beat UCF 31-28. I think Willie Fritz is Tulane playing good football. They're having a great season. This is a spectacular season for Tulane. I think they're going to want to continue to be undefeated in the American. And I think Tulane, they've been finding ways to win all season. And I think they're going to find a way to beat UCF. It's going to be really close. I think UCF is the more talented team. But it's at Tulane. I think Tulane's playing very spirited football. And I think Tulane's going to find a way to beat UCF 31-28. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think UCF or Tulane's going to win this game and why, and I will see you next time.